Yes, welcome, Massive. We are above ground from the nuisance and inconveniences of lockdown in Ontario. Finally, stores and restaurants are open on a limited basis. You don't need to be a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon to understand that the same was relevant if we can go to liquor stores and ganja stores to buy, would have been able to go get basic things. Shopping is healing. Mitigating with other people is healing. Not mad at credit card shopping or overspending to stay ventilatedly, creditedly addicted. But here we are. What is it? Third day in Ontario, overground. The first thing I did was to go search for a comfortable working shoes after a long suffering of my jigalized toes. I stood in line for almost 3.5 hours to get the comfortable shoes, but it is wonderful. We hope people can adhere to the basic rules and regulations, and life should go. But some of us are not religious because religious leaders and religious fraternities have made life inconveniently confused because they are all mentally confusing. Bullying. Yes, coronavirus keeps showing the awkwardness of our world, but we are still blinded to it all. Now, I come to my beloved topic. I'm a proud African, a Pan-Africanist that sees no border and no nationality but one Africa, one passport, one destiny. And God gave the African world an earthly heaven, and we keep making it into a hellfire with all these gibberish of religious dependency. Trust me, when we all passaged to meet God, God is going to close that gate, because God will say, I gave you heaven on earth and you made it into a shit or hole. So go into the fire and roast your assorted to eat. I see all these academics or advocates talking about Africa overdependence on China. Africa overdependence on China. Yes, it is pathetic, but you don't blame even the Chinese because Africans are still drunk. Because, look, when you have something and you know people need it and you undersell yourself, you are the sick person. But Africans are like that. If you have a goat to sell, they want the goat. They don't even have a budget to buy the goat, but they will tell you they want a goat, buy me a goat. And if you tell them what's your budget, they will tell you they don't have a budget. But when you price your goat, then they cry it down because they have their selfish mission statement, and then you become their enemy. So how do Africa change those things, or how do Africans change it? Charge for every service that you offer. There's nothing like free. Every time you hear free, run. When somebody calls you through third parties or person that you know to do anything, charge them a fee, because at the end of the day, they will damn you anyways, but at least you've got your fee. Service for fee is a priceless industry. It took me moons to realize that when you give your service freely, you become the enemy and the trasher of the dirty, hidden agenda people. So never provide any service for free. Charge for your time and expertise. If they do not need you or your service, They won't pass through third party or ask you for your service. So don't downplay it, because at the end of the day, human beings are just ungrateful. Now, on the China issue, who are the people really tormenting Africa more than China? The United Nations, the IMF, and the so-called World Bank. They continue to feed mad African nations with loan. And who eats the loan? The so-called experts that they send to follow the loan. If 100 million is given as a loan, 80% of that money goes back to the loaners, the IMF and World Bank, because they give all these facade expertise. Look at the history of IMF, World Bank, United Nations loan program or aid program to Africa. It's nothing but a waste of money. China, on the other hand, at least, even though they are despicably exploitative, borrowing from what exactly the old masters did, but at least most of the developmental growth that we've seen in Africa, if not for China, because we wonder what our engineers are doing our educational system. We need to change and stop blaming homegrown. It's the fulfillment. He who feeds you control the shit you shit. So let's start eating what we grow and respect what we have. We cannot forget yesterday, but we can demand our today. One Africa, and we tend to cite all other nations about the importance of unity, but we forget that was the DNA of Africans wherever we are. And the proverb is saying it takes a community to bring up a child or to build a nation. Today, we have the so-called diasporans, these parasites of political parasites that continue to confuse Africa, will be in the plantation where we do not even have a community connection, and we direct and incite people to disrupt Africans' development. Or when we go, that's the time we want to build mansions. Buildings built on sand. Coconut heads. Africa, wake up. One love.